Let's talk about one of the internet's biggest and maybe most misunderstood myths, the dark web. You hear all these stories. You picture this lawless digital frontier, but what is it really? And how does it stay so incredibly hidden? Well, let's peel back the layers and find out.
Just think about that for a second. The web that you and I use every single day, Google, social media, all our favorite news sites, it feels absolutely massive, right? But what if all of that? What if it's just the tiny tip of a giant iceberg, with almost everything else hidden completely out of sight?
Because that's pretty much the reality. Experts estimate that something like 96% of the entire internet isn't indexed by search engines. It's not on Google. This massive, hidden part of the web is totally real. But to even begin to get our heads around it, we first have to get our definition straight.
Okay, so you've probably heard people throw around the terms deep web and dark web like they're the exact same thing. Let's be clear, they are not. And understanding that one little difference is the absolute key to unlocking this whole topic.
Here's the thing that might surprise you. You use the deep web every single day. It's just the parts of the internet that a search engine can't crawl through. Think about it. Your email inbox, your online banking portal, your company's private database. You wouldn't want that stuff showing up on Google, right? It's hidden for privacy. Now, the dark web, that's a very, very small corner of the deep web that's been intentionally concealed. And to get there, you need some special software.
So how exactly is this little corner of the internet kept so secret? Well, the answer comes down to this incredibly powerful technology that was designed for one thing and one thing only: total anonymity.
The engine that powers the dark web is a free piece of software called Tor, and its full name, the Onion Router, gives you the perfect mental picture for how it's able to create almost complete anonymity for anyone who uses it.
Yeah, it's called onion routing for a reason. Just imagine your internet traffic. Your request to visit a website is like a tiny message. Before that message leaves your computer, Tor wraps it in multiple, complex layers of digital encryption, just like, you guessed it, the layers of an onion.
So here's the play-by-play. First, your data gets wrapped up in all those encryption layers. Then it gets bounced through a whole bunch of random volunteer-run computers all over the world. Each one of those computers only peels back one layer of encryption, just enough to know where to send it next. So by the time your request actually gets to its destination, its original source has been totally lost in the shuffle. The path is basically untraceable.
Okay, so now we get the tech, but the big question is still out there. What do you actually find on these anonymous.onion sites? The media loves to paint this picture of a digital Wild West, but, well, the reality is a little more complicated than that.
A study back in 2016 from King's College London gave us this rare data-driven peek inside. And yeah, no big surprise, a decent chunk of the sites were dedicated to illegal stuff. But look at that last row. This is the fascinating part. Almost half the sites were either not illegal or their purpose was totally unknown. That suggests there's way more going on in the dark web than just its sinister reputation. And get this might be the most surprising fact of all. According to one of the co-founders of the Tor project, Facebook, yes, that Facebook, actually runs one of the biggest hidden services on the dark web. So why would they do that? Well, it's to give people access to their platform in countries where it's censored and to offer a much more private connection for users everywhere. That one fact really challenges the whole idea that the dark web is only for criminals.
So after all of this, what's the big takeaway? When we strip away all the myths, all the media hype, what is the dark web at its very core?
At the end of the day, the dark web isn't some spooky digital city. It's not a place at all. It's just the natural consequence of a technology, the technology of anonymity. It is, at its most basic level, a tool. And just like any other powerful tool, its impact, whether it's for good or for ill, depends entirely on who's using it and why.
And this is the central conflict, isn't it? The exact same anonymity that protects a journalist or an activist living under a repressive regime is also what shields a criminal. The technology that lets people communicate freely without being watched is the same one used to hide from the police. It is a true double-edged sword.
Which leaves us with a really difficult, really fundamental question. In an age of mass surveillance and growing censorship, the need for true anonymity feels more important than ever. But its potential for harm is just as real, just as serious. So, is this powerful, anonymous tool something our digital world can afford to live with? Or is it something we can't afford to live without?